If your dog or puppy were injured as the result of an accident, would you be able to take care of them? Well, in this video, we're going to go through a pet first aid kit so that you're fully prepared for if and when that happens, because accidents do happen and they tend to happen when it's not convenient for your veterinarian.
Hey, shut up!
So hopefully with these tips, we can help you avoid either a vet visit and certainly help to save your pet's life. Hey, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Nicole with Podorable Finds, and I am obsessed with helping dogs and their owners live their best lives. So in today's video, we're going to talk about pet first aid, and stick around till the end because I actually have some free resource guides for you, and I will also keep a link in the description below. So a first aid kit is one of those things that I'd rather have and not need instead of needing and not having one. Most basic first aid kits, they're going to have a lot of the supplies that you would need to have for your dog in case of an emergency or an injury. So some of those supplies would include gauze, bandages, tweezers, blunt scissors, etc. But I'm going to go through sort of all of the different types of things that you should make sure that you have in your pet first aid kit, even if it's a DIY one. Okay, so just to open things up, a tick removal kit is always handy to have in your pet first aid kit because you never know when that can happen, and especially flea or tick season, sometimes they can be really aggressive. Along with your tick removal kit, it's always good to have some stainless steel tweezers. These tweezers come in handy even if you don't have a tick remover with you. Sometimes the tweezers can be used for that, although those buggers can really dig in. But it's really good for if your dog were to get a splinter or if they were stung and a stinger is stuck in their skin. So in addition to that, having a magnifying glass and even a pen light or some sort of a flashlight, just so that you can really see those areas in case your dog does have a splinter. They can be really difficult to see sometimes, especially if your dog is like mine and has long, thick fur. So that would be just something to add in, and you can get them relatively inexpensively. The next thing I would add to the list is Benadryl, of all things. Yes, Benadryl, just liquid Benadryl, because Benadryl is an anti-inflammatory. So if your dog were to get, say, hives or some sort of an allergic reaction from a bug bite or a sting, then the Benadryl will help to alleviate that and bring down all of that swelling. I would recommend you speak with your vet first to make sure that your dog isn't allergic to Benadryl or its ingredients. If you'd prefer to go more of an all-natural approach, you can go with the old-fashioned baking soda and water, make that into a paste, put it on the area where there was a sting. That should help to get the sting out of the skin and get that sensation out of the skin and make things a little bit more comfortable for your dog. But if you're open to having a homeopathic remedy, I guess, there is a product called Apis, or an item called Apis. You can use that. That definitely helps to remove any swelling and the sting from a bite or from a bug sting. And Ledum. Ledum is really good for ticks. Now, Ledum can be administered 2 to 3 times a day for 2 to 3 days, and that should help with getting rid of any sort of byproducts of having a tick on their skin. Some other common items that you might already have on hand would be a thermometer, but you can get a dog-specific thermometer, which might make it a little bit easier to actually take their temperature. You certainly want to make sure that included in your kit you have a towel or a blanket, something nice and soft, comfortable for them. It's great for drying them off in case they get wet, if they're slipping in a pool, or in case of them being injured and you need to move them, you can move them on a towel or on a blanket. An ice pack or heat packs, they are fantastic as well in case, again, there is some sort of an injury where you need to either reduce the swelling or administer heat to the particular area. Now, something you may not have is a soft muzzle. This is a great idea, even if you have the sweetest, kindest, most non-aggressive dog on the planet. Any dog could bite if they're in a great deal of pain or they're going through a lot of trauma. So having a soft muzzle, it will help keep them calm and prevent you from getting bitten as well. Now, in case your dog has some sort of a cut or an open wound, it's always best to have some rubber gloves on hand and to keep those in your kit, but anything to keep your hands clean, free of debris, so that we're not transferring any infection to your dog's wound. To clean the wound, you definitely want to make sure that you're using either plain water or you can use some saline as well. Definitely want to use saline solution for the eyes if you need to flush anything out. Contact lens solution in a dog's eyes can be very, very dangerous and cause a great deal of irritation and maybe even make things worse. Now, if your dog is bleeding, you can get styptic powder or blood clotting powder. A lot of times you'll see this if you're with groomers or if you trim your own dog's nails. Sometimes you might get a little bit too close to the quick and that may bleed. But this type of blood clotting powder is really helpful if there's a small wound on your dog as well, because that will help to stop the blood from flowing. To keep the area clean, if it is bleeding or if it is an open wound, again, you can also use some wet wipes that may help, especially if you're cleaning off any dried blood. And you want to make sure that all of this area is clean before you put on any sort of bandage. For bandages, you can use cotton balls, which is great. Cotton balls are also good for putting on any sort of antiseptic on the dog's skin. Or you can use gauze. So gauze is also great to make your own sort of bandage. Now, when it comes to bandaging your dog, you certainly don't want to use the adhesive bandages that you and I would use that would stick to your skin, because it could get caught up on your dog's fur. But you can get non-stick bandages for your dog, and you can get these self-adhesive sort of bandages, and basically it just adheres to itself. The one that I have is actually quote unquote bite proof, so this is to help your dog or to help prevent your dog from being able to get at their wound and really make things worse or open it up again. Now, when working with bandages, you'll probably need to use scissors. I would strongly recommend having blunt end scissors, so that way you can avoid poking your dog with the scissors and causing even further injury. So if your dog does have a cut or an open wound and you're concerned about infection, then you can get an antiseptic spray. There are ones that are made specifically for dogs and cats or any pets. You can also use ointments like polysporin. I would be a little bit leery of the polysporin if you can get the dog-specific alternative. As a homeopathic sort of alternative, you can get liquid colloidal silver, which is also good for making sure that there isn't any fungus, infection, bacteria, viruses that get into any sort of an open wound. In addition, calendula cream is a really good all-purpose sort of antiseptic type of ointment that you can use for your dog as well. And as a bonus, it actually helps to accelerate any healing. And finally, as a homeopathic alternative, Arnica cream is really good for any areas where you might see some bruising, some swelling. It does help to speed up some of the healing there. One thing that you're going to want to avoid when it comes to cleaning out a wound is rubbing alcohol or hydrogen peroxide. But hydrogen peroxide can be used to induce vomiting. So if you're concerned that your dog has ingested something poisonous, then hydrogen peroxide, if you administer it orally, you can use a syringe. So another good idea to have in your kit are great big syringes, big enough so that you can administer medication or things like hydrogen peroxide orally to your dog. On the flip side, milk of magnesia or charcoal will help to absorb any toxins that might have been ingested by your dog or any poison. Before you administer any of these things, so whether it's to induce vomiting or to absorb the poison, definitely contact animal poison control, because in some cases, inducing vomiting might just make things worse. So as a side note, if your dog has a bit of an upset stomach, so diarrhea, that sort of thing, nothing as serious as, say, a poison control issue, then slippery elm bark can be fed to your dogs. It works just as well on cats. And what you can do is you can get capsules, open them up, and put them with your pet's food. For a dog, they could probably take about 2 to 3 capsules, but definitely you'll want to consult with your vet, and definitely you want to take a look at the packaging. And finally, as part of your kit, definitely want to make sure that you have all of the contact information for your veterinarian, the animal emergency veterinary hospital in your area, animal poison control as well, and a copy of your dog's medical records if you have them. So a list of the vaccines they may have had, any vet visits that they would have had in the past, just so that you have up-to-date records if you ever do have to take your animal into the veterinary clinic or emergency hospital. Okay, so that's all well and good, but now what do you do in case of an emergency? How do you deal with some of these injuries? Well, I actually found 2 amazing resources. I didn't write them myself, but I will link them in the description below. And these are free resources as well, pet first aid booklets that you can download. If you would like to have a paid version, of course, I will have a link provided below. There's loads of places where you can go and pick one up. But these 2 just happen to be free. So I thought I would share those with you. So that's what I would have in my pet first aid kit. Leave a comment below. Let me know if there's anything that you would have included that I didn't list. I truly hope that you found this helpful, and I really hope that you never need to use these tips or use a pet first aid kit, but if you do, I hope that it serves you well and that you are able to avoid any unnecessary vet visits, or you can certainly keep your dog comfortable if an accident does occur. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't done so already and you found this information helpful, it would mean the world to me if you would hit that subscribe button. In the meantime, thanks again. Have an awesome day.